Well, I don't so much have a talk as an exploration of some terms around love, the Greek words that are used for love. And I thought it's also a nice opportunity to bring in lineage and something from my own teacher, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi, who wrote a little bit on this subject. And so I thought I'd do a little bit of exploring these words on love and doing some commentary on what he wrote about them. So some of you might be familiar with a book by C.S. Lewis called The Four Loves, where he explores these 4 Greek words for love, especially as how they're used in Catholic Christianity. And in some ways, if you look these words up, they all translate the same. They could be love or affection. And depending on who the writer is, they might get categorized differently. So I'll use the way they're basically used in the Christian tradition as a framework to get to what ones are most important in the work that we're doing. And instead of 4, I'll do 5. The 5th is charis. So the first word we can look at is storge. Storge is like a S-T-O-R-G-E, storge. Storge can mean fondness or affection because of familiarity. Like after a week of being around one another and sharing conversation, you know, and it's kind of an enjoyment of one another and we've shared something, storge. Fondness or affection because of familiarity. It can also stand for familial love, love of family. And there it's, of course, deeper than that love just because of familiarity. It has a deep, connected element that is about how we are together, and there's even an innate love there. So storge is kind of both things. It depends on the context. You're either talking about familial love or the love that comes from familiarity. You know, like when I walked in this morning, I didn't see Roy most of the day yesterday. You know, I just put my hand on his back, rubbed his back. He took me aside, you know, to talk to me about something for a minute, you know, of concern for us. Like, that's that easy familiarity. Now, we have much more relationship than that. But, you know, any one of us might do that. So storge, not exactly the love that we're talking about here. And we'll look at what Reb Zalman wrote. So here, because he's got it on a scale from Catholic Christianity, he says, on the lowest level is storge, affection, the fondness we have for something or someone simply because of familiarity. So you can think about that, like where does that exist in your life? You know, it might exist here after a few days, you know, and may already.
Definitely in the circle.
Yes. After we've completed a circle, there's a sense of some intimate things have been shared, windows on our lives, and that moves us to affection for one another. So it's wrong to categorize it on a low level. In fact, there's a kind of metaphysic that makes that an expression of something very powerful. It's like opening those windows allowed something that was already there to emerge, like an emergent property, that affection. Then we have philia. You can do that with a P-H, I-L-I-A, or an F, philia. And let's see what Reb Zalman said about it here. Then there is philia, friendship, the genuine liking we have for something or someone. When you talk about a bibliophile, You're talking about a person who really likes books, who has a genuine interest in them, reading them, caring for them, appreciating the aesthetics of them, etc. A Freudian analyst would tell you that the person has a cathexis, meaning that the person has invested libido energy in books. Rory?
We were just talking about cathexis the other day.
Yeah. And myself, like if you go into my personal library, over time I'm replacing any paperback book that I really love. I'm searching for the hardcover version, hardcover with a dust jacket. And then when it has that dust jacket, I've cleaned that book. And then later on, I'll get those Mylar covers that you can put over the dust jacket. And so somebody once came into my house and they saw a bookshelf and they said, "Why do all your books shine?" And they went closer and they touched them because they all had these Mylar covers over them and they were catching the light. Investing some libido energy into something like that's a bibliophile, you know, for all those things that we would add that ending file to. I have a friendship with books, a love of them. If you were to take a book from that person and tear it up, it would almost cause them physical pain because they have invested loving energy in their books. So philia in general means affinity love. I have an affinity for something. I have preferences, you know, that make me enjoy something, and I get a lot of joy back out of them, and it creates a relationship. And that sometimes gets translated as friendship. Philia is friendship love. In some contexts, that friendship love or affinity love is compared to other loves and qualified as a little bit conditional. Conditional love. In some ways, because it's based in affinity. We have affinity for these things, so that's the condition in the love. But what if the affinity changed? You know, is there still the love, you know? Or one partner in that relationship started to act a little different, or wasn't going to the bookstore with you all the time anymore, or whatever it might be. So philia is friendship love, but the characteristic that we're looking at there is affinities. Oh, we're friends because. We're friends because. We're friends because. And that becomes important in the Christian framing of these loves. Then, of course, we have eros. Eros is often, you know, spoken of in terms of the erotic, and then it's sexualized. And that's kind of the only way it's thought about, but that's not accurate. Sexual passion is participating in eros, but it's not equivalent to eros. Eros and the erotic are desire-driven, passion-driven. There's a fire to it. There's a little bit of that fire in that bibliophile when you see somebody tore up their rare book or something. The fire arose, that libido energy that was invested in it. This is most consistent with what Sufis would call eshk, which means love, but it's passionate love. It's love on fire. It's which is put in a balance with another word for love, hub. Hub means love. It's kind of cute because Jamila can call me her hubby, you know, both for a husband and my love. The other word is mahabba. And mahabba or hub is just love in general. If you're in a long-term relationship, The fire that's there at the beginning is eshk. When that stabilizes and just becomes a thread through your relationship in your life, that's mahabba. And in a way, the mahabba is better in some ways because it's so consistent. And yet, if one of the partners was in danger or sick or there was stress in the relationship, that thing would peak. It would go right up. And that would be eshk again. So these are states of love. You know, it's in this state or it's in this state. Eros is in that high fire state. And that's preferred in Sufism because it's so hot that it transforms things, it cooks things, it burns up the ego. So that's what we're talking about here, like a passionate love. The erotic has that quality, that edge of desire and longing. It's not the love we're talking about here, but it's one of the states of love. And in that particular tradition, very important.
And it's a little bit addictive.
Yeah.
Some people fall into going only through that kind of love, and when that goes into the more permanent, they get out and they look for another high.
Yeah, yeah. But in Sufism, that would be considered immaturity.
I think in life as well.
Yeah, it was in life. That's true. Yes.
This is my 60, almost 67 years old talking.
She's so pointed. A little ice pick. Yes. Yeah, that's to say that, yeah, that's a pathology around that type of love. Whereas in Sufism, what they'd be saying is that if it was truly a love on fire, it wouldn't die out so quickly. The conflagration would get bigger and bigger as fire does. It takes more oxygen. It consumes more of the elements around it. And its purpose there is to burn the ego, to burn the ego. So if it was just kind of lighting up, going out, and then looking for another, that would not be the ideal at all. Immaturity, both in life and Sufism. I think Reb Zalman puts it in terms of sexuality here. After that comes eros, the love between individuals, which might range from powerful sexual desire, the urge for life, to the romantic love we call being in love. The romantic love we call being in love. And I'll just continue with him. Finally, there is agape. Agape. And this is one that you hear in spiritual talk a lot. To explain this, let me give you a little New Testament teaching, he says. Clearly a Jewish teacher. He loved Christianity. He loved to explore Christianity. And this is a great example of comparing two loves that occur in a biblical passage, John 21, 15 through 19. So in one of the synoptic gospels, the gospels that pretty much give similar accounts of the life of Jesus. And in the passage where Jesus is speaking to Peter, which is a kind of prelude to when Peter betrays Jesus, there's a short conversation. Now, the Gospels are written in Koine Greek, in a Greek that existed in that period. When they get translated, it looks like this. So most of the translations look like this. Jesus says to Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, I do. I love you." "Do you love me?" Jesus asks again. "I love you," Peter declares. "Do you love me?" Jesus asks one last time, I love you, says Peter. So when we're reading in English, that's what we're usually reading. What do you think is happening?
Different words for love.
Yeah, you know the answer. So in English, it sounds like just a kind of intensifying moment. As if you might say, no, do you love me? Yes, I love you. Do you love me? Right? Comes out like that, right? Here's with the Greek. Jesus says to Peter, do you love agapu me? Love is agapu. And Peter says, yes, I do. I love filio you. So I'll do it this way. Do you love me unconditionally? Peter says, yes, I do. I friendship you. Do you love me unconditionally? Jesus asks again. I friendship you, Peter declares. Do you love me unconditionally? Jesus asks one last time. I friendship you, says Peter. Or I affinity love you. I conditionally love you. Changes that passage entirely.
And the betrayal also, it changes.
And it sets up the betrayal.
Exactly.
Because, you know, when Peter is confronted, like, oh, are you connected with this Jesus character? No. His love is conditional. It's not in all circumstances, you know? And we knew it here before it happened, if we knew the Greek. I friendship you. I absolutely friendship you. But that's not the question. Do you unconditional love me? I sure friendship you. You know? So it's really important what happens there. Reb Zalman goes on to say, you see, when you just read it in English, you miss what is really going on here. Agape is unconditional love. So Jesus is asking, do you love me unconditionally? And Peter is answering, I really like you. And later we find when Jesus is in a bad way, Peter betrays him 3 times. Agape, he says, is also us love. Us love. And here he uses an example from Judaism because he's speaking to rabbis in this book. You know, and these were actually talks that he gave. He says, there are times on Shabbat morning when I look around, say at the congregation, and we've all just prayed together. There are times on Shabbat morning when I look around and I see how we love one another, and I really love us. What we're doing together, which is a thing that we might feel after a charis circle, you know? Oh, that was beautiful, and then it was beautiful together. I love us. I love what we just were together. That's also agape love. But he says, but we have to be careful with that kind of love because there's a shadow side to it. He uses a bunch of high context Kabbalistic stuff. Basically to say, us love can become tribal. Yeah, I love us, but not them. And we see this. You'll see the best behavior and the best values, but only for the in-group. And then will be something else entirely to people that are outside, you know. You know, a thing about many indigenous tribes, you know, of the Americas here is many of their names for themselves, the tribal names, meant human being, which is beautiful, except that it also meant that anybody that wasn't of the tribe wasn't a human being. Not exactly. You could become a human being, you could enter our tribe, and then you would be a human being by adoption, but somebody outside was not a human being. And therefore you could do things to them that you wouldn't do within the tribe. So Reb Zalman treats this as a shadow side to the us love of agape. And
It's not truly universal.
yeah,
It's just called universal within the tribe.
yes, that's his point. It's not yet universal. It's unconditional if you're in the tribe. And it does have this quality of mutuality too. And this is part of the Christian understanding of agape, is that this is love that God has for us and love that we reciprocate. So it's reciprocated love, there's a mutuality to it. But that us can be limited. So Reb Zalman here didn't want to put that at the top of the scale. So unlike C.S. Lewis's four loves, he added a fifth love. Now, unfortunately for us, he doesn't go into it deeply here. But then there's one more kind of love, charis, from which we get the word charity. Charity, charisma, charis, they're all based in this, in the root for this, which is grace. So you think about charisma. Charisma is not the effect of charisma, meaning like, oh, all these people listen to them. They're a dynamic speaker. It's the gift that allows that effect. The grace, the giftedness, the grace that allowed them to move people. But when it's the grace, then there's the implication that that should be used for a good end. That's a grace to be used for God's ends. The charis quality of Van Gogh's ability to paint in a way that, well, I'll say it, in a way that I'm jealous of. I once was in the Phillips Museum in Washington, D.C., and they had a small exhibit of Van Gogh's, and there was one that was two fish on a plate. No, I don't want to paint two fish on a plate. But there was so much life in those dead fish. I was almost angry that I can't put that much life in a painting. Once I bought a postcard of a sunlit field that he'd painted, and I bought it from this French importer store, I'd never seen this painting before, and I saw it, and I was so mad that I bought the postcard. I was jealous, like, I want to get that much power into a painting. And so I bought it to drive me, to drive me nuts a little bit. But that's his gift. He got that gift to evoke almost that response, to drive something greater. So when we put the emphasis on the impact of the gift, and then we attribute the gift to the person and not what's coming through the person, then we kind of it's a kind of an affront to God. We localized it in that person, but really it was for something. We are all gifted to an end. We're gifted to give the gifts. All of us have a charis quality. Charis is a love that is rooted in compassion. So now when we're talking about it on the love scale, charis is a love that is rooted in compassion. It is the Sacred Heart of Jesus in Catholic Christianity. So that's an interesting distinction, because agape is the celebrated love in Christian speak, usually. We want this love of mutuality between God and us, and this us love, this unconditional love, that's the one that's celebrated. Now, when Reb Zalman says, it is the Sacred Heart of Jesus, it's a deeper dimension. It is Jesus' sacred heart. Now we're not describing a love of mutuality, we're describing the source. It is the Sacred Heart. It is the Mahakaruna, the great compassion of Mahayana Buddhism. In Judaism, we speak of Ahava Rabbah, the great love. Rabbah, same root from which you get Rabbi or rabbi, master, great. Rabbah is great. Ahava is love. It is the great love. That love is for everyone. And then he goes on to talk about how in Judaism you have a lot of, in Judaism there's a lot of talk of Ohev Yisrael, the love of Israel. Not the state, the people. Yisrael means God wrestler. And so, you know, that's a way to universalize Israel, make it God wrestlers. But when you say Ohev Yisrael, you mean love of Jews. That we need to have this love of one another and take care of one another. But today is a time when we can see the pathology of that love. Oh, that's for us, and it doesn't apply outside. And so that's that limitation on that agape love. And so he says, charis is bigger, is more important. It's a universal love. All this is to say that love must be as large as possible, reaching the level of charis. And so when he says that, in the terms of Judaism and the Kabbalah, he would be talking about what we call Ahava Rabbah, the great love. But there's another term, Ahava Mesuteret. Ahava Mesuteret means the hidden love. The hidden love that is so present that you can't see it. Like we would say in certain non-dual framings, especially the way Ibn Arabi speaks, that you've never not seen God, and therefore you've never seen God. You've never not seen God, therefore you've never seen God. Meaning, in a full non-duality, there's nothing but God. So there's no way to not see God. It's just you don't know that you're seeing God because there's no way to other it. There's no way to separate it out. You're always seeing God, and so therefore you feel as if you've never seen God. You know, it's the water that you're swimming in. You don't know it's water.
The fish
Yep.
in the boat.
Yep. So the Ahava Mesuteret is that. It's always there. But we can be cut off from it in a sense. In the same sense that we can be cut off from God in consciousness. You know? There's a filter over our consciousness where we're just not seeing the sacred in everything, everywhere. It is sacred, everything and everyone. We're just not aware of it. And it's the removal of a very thin layer in consciousness that allows it and makes it possible, because it's there all the time. So what he's saying is that
And that is also Paris.
that is, thank you.
Sorry.
And Alejandro will make my next point.
Sorry.
No, it's great. That's charis, yes. It is the universal love. It is the love that's always present, that only needs to be tapped. And to go back to the earlier point, when we're opening those 5-minute windows for one another on our lives, you know, and the person that you were just, you know, chatting with in the hallway or getting breakfast with, but you don't really know, and we're really just names and faces to one another, and not even that familiar yet. But then we open that 5-minute window. The window apparently opens this way, it's a slider. Open that 5-minute window. somebody just let you into their world for a moment. And I like to make this point a lot in the dialogue class, that almost the entirety of our lives as individuals is hidden. Almost the entirety of our lives, what, 99% hidden, 98% hidden? I don't know what the percentage would be. It's pretty high. Because what your life is not necessarily the externals that people can see. It's your internal response to everything that's happening. The interior world is a vast hinterland, the way Jung would talk about it. You know, hinterland is like, so Marseille is a coastal city, right, in France. Right on the coast, the ships come in. And if you're standing on the dock in Marseille and you're watching the ships go out, the hinterland is everything that's behind you. All of Marseille, all of France, all of Europe, all the way back around the round planet up to where you're standing. It's a hinterland. And we're like that, like doorways that open onto entire worlds. And most of what our life is an interior experience or an interior reckoning with an exterior circumstance, which means almost all of our life is hidden from everybody around us. And we put a weirdly high value on the exterior circumstances. Oh, I saw them do this, that's what they are. It's 1% of the story. You know, there is a story. And when we open that slide for 5 minutes, that's such a gift to everyone else and to ourselves. Because that's the real you. That's something of your real life and experience. And we're just mostly not doing that and not getting that. Even the people that you're married to or you spend all your time with, you're still having this mostly interior experience. It's just you're sharing more of the life together, and hopefully you have a dialogue with one another where you have a pattern of sharing more of the interior experience. And, you know, and that's the value in that life together, not just the sharing of the duties, though that's valuable too. And so you could look at a lot of our lives as tragic for what's unknown about them. You know, even if you live to be 90, who would know how much of your life? You know, who would know how much of your life, what percentage of your real life? So there's such a gift when we open these small windows. And even if the window is not like, oh, when I was 5, this happened, but the window is, oh, when I hear that line in that poem, it makes me think of, you know, and I paint a picture. That's also from my interior world. When we witness that and when we do that, both things, the action of revealing and what am I trying to say? Like, it's a powerful act to open the window. There's a great healing from allowing yourself to be witnessed. It is also a great gift to give someone the opportunity to witness you. And it gives to them. And this is how we pull the veil on the Ahava Misuteret. We recognize that when those windows are open and we look through them, there is a natural love. The first aspect of it, the way we experience it, might be storge. Oh, I feel an affection. But all of that is based in there being just a saturation of love everywhere. We're just cut off from it in consciousness. And so the work that we're doing is the conscious removal of the veil more and more, so that we can live in reality as it is, not as it appears. Reality as it appears is, I've never seen God. Reality as it is, I've never not seen God. I just didn't know it. There we go.